meeting of the Egg Harbor Town for reasons or topics for discussion that may be held in closed session pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. There may be interruptions in the videotaping of these proceedings, and this meeting will be aired by EHT-TV Channel 97 tomorrow evening starting at 7 p.m.
Thank you. And just so the public is aware, the last meeting there was a problem with the recording system and the meeting did not get recorded. So this one will.
Could do the roll call?
Yes, let's do the pledge.
Pledge first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we can do roll call.
Okay. Cathero?
Here.
Ellis?
Here.
Hodson?
Yep.
Again, Mr. Pauls is not with us this evening. And Fromer.
I am here. I'm just going to deviate a little bit from the agenda because we have the Rocks family here that would like to make a comment, so if they could come forward. Just put your name for the record.
It's rough for me to speak right now. Al Rocks,
And Eileen Rocks.
305 Boston Ave.
We've come here tonight to thank our entire community for a tragic fire that we had last Monday. We have lived in this community for over 40 years, and we are so grateful for the outpour of professionalism from our fire department, from our police department, from the mayor's department, from all of our neighbors, our community. We couldn't be more grateful and honored to be part of this community. And we just wanted to come and thank everyone for
Great
coming
job.
to
They really
our
did. It was
aid.
phenomenal.
And
I don't have much to say, but I'm grateful and thankful for everybody that, participated at our house. And
we just couldn't let any more time go without coming to you and thanking you for that.
And we all appreciate it. We'll make sure the word gets spread.
please.
But I know, I'm going to let Paul say something because I know Paul was there.
Sure.
But, especially the holiday season when this stuff happens, and it always does, it seems like.
Yeah.
But,
It's tough.
whatever we can do to help going forward, because there'll be
Thank
things
you.
coming up,
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure.
just reach out.
Yep. Thank you.
Al, I tell you, it was a serious fire, and our Scoville responders, along with Bargaintown, were exceptional. That's my opinion.
Yes.
I did this as an early age into the Army. I played volunteer in Summers Point for years,
Mhm.
and that could have been a bad loss, and you could have been hurt too. You were
Yeah.
inside. And, your neighbors are exceptional. They
Yes.
all were out. I met a couple of your neighbors.
Yeah.
Vernon Cruz is the Scoville Fire Chief.
Phenomenal.
And Al, I don't know how it got started like it did. If you'd be at
Yeah.
home, but I guess you were in the shower or what? You were in the bathroom or wherever you were.
Yeah, I was on the second floor, and it apparently started out on the back deck and
Yeah.
About to
spread through, and
get
I
in
heard an
the shower.
explosion. Is when I ran.
Different things.
You were in the
Yeah.
house when you heard
I
this?
was.
He was in
Second
the bathroom when he came
Yeah.
out. But
And first turn, I saw flames everywhere. And then when I passed my kitchen, I was fully engulfed, and I just got out with a robe. And he was happy to see that because I flashed him.
I thought he could at least have a silk robe on instead of that hand-me-down he stole from a cruise line he had on.
And Ray, your fish, I'm sorry, was destroyed.
Fish burnt up.
Oh, yeah, but I'll be back. I'll be back fishing.
But
Yes.
Al, it could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
Depending on the time of day, if it's nighttime or
Absolutely.
whatever, and you were home in bed.
Grateful,
People
thankful.
react a little differently, but
Yes.
the neighbors, you got a good neighborhood.
And we'll
We have a great
rebuild.
town. We have a great town.
Might
And
take
there's
a
no
year,
We do
place
have a good
we'll-
town. It'll
we'll be
take a
back.
while, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're safe, that's what counts, the most
Yes.
important thing.
Thank you very much.
But
for
we
your
will
time.
absolutely share this with
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you.
Mrs.
I
Rocks,
appreciate it.
I know we'll give him a pass this time, but you ever heard him lost for words?
As soon as I walked up, I was like, I can't.
We'll let him get by this time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming up. Okay, now we're going to have a presentation by the ACUA. And for the record, I'm a proud board member of the ACUA, so these are some fine folks coming up. So, Matt?
All right. Thank you, Mayor Frommer. I won't take a lot of your time. Last time I was here, we were presenting on capacity and different
Could
things
you
at the
introduce
landfill.
yourself for the record?
Oh, sorry. Matt Donafo, the president of the Atlantic County Utilities Authority. I'd like to thank the entire committee here because you guys took the time several weeks ago to come out to our site, take a look at it, see the magnitude of the facility and what has to happen on a daily basis. And there's not a lot of people that took that opportunity. So again, I want to thank everybody that came out, got that information. Tom had passed along some information that we'll just kind of go over today. We're going to talk about our solid waste rate. We'll talk a little bit about host community, and then where EHT is when it comes to report cards. So the first thing I'm going to have you guys look at is that map of New Jersey. It looks like you guys are all looking at it right now. This is a tip fee map of New Jersey. The bright yellow counties are the ones that have waste flow. So 15 of the 21 counties have waste flow. What that means is the trash in those counties are handled by those counties. And that's their law, and that supports our solid waste system. So over 2/3 of the state have what we call waste flow, and that keeps the trash in Atlantic County coming to our facility.
What's the other alternative, Matt?
The alternative, there's some other ones that have some private facilities, but they can go out of state. They can go to other counties. Some counties also don't allow waste to come from other counties as well, but some do. So there's some variations in it. But they can go to other states in those counties. Our tip fee is going up 2 3/4%, so it's going from about $79 to about $81. This is the municipal rate for all the taxpayers. Still, with this rate increase, we are the lowest in the state of New Jersey. On this map, you'll see there's about a dozen or half a dozen that are grayed. Those are the ones we've gotten updates for. So these are counties that have already increased there or given us verbals based off of conversations we've had with our contacts. They're ranging from 4% to 1.2%. The other ones are last year's rates. So before they even increase their rate, our rate is still less than what their last year rate is. So we know that they're going to be kind of in that range. Our goal really was to try to keep it below inflation. We had a 3.5% increase last year and 11% the year before. We're seeing a reduction in tonnage. So even though we're increasing the rate by 2 3/4%, we're only seeing about a 0.64% increase in revenue because we are seeing a pullback a little bit, especially on the C&D. So that's kind of uniform across the state. We're seeing about 4 to 5% of waste kind of going down a little bit.
What
So,
about residential waste? Is that coming down or is that?
so residential kind of peaked right around COVID. So right after COVID, everybody was home, and you'll see that in your report card, which is another document here we'll look at real quick. But you'll see that 2021 number is like the highest it's been in a while, and then it slowly starts to come down. But residential's kind of leveled out. Everybody's kind of back to work or back into their normal routine. So you're seeing that kind of steady. Whereas again, the construction demolition, I think the barrier islands still see a lot of that going on because there is a lot of tear downs and new construction over there, whereas mainland is a little bit slower. So again, looking at a 2 3/4% increase, still lowest tip fee in the state. Again, that's been our goal, because we're able to dispose of waste at our facility. The next sheet I just wanted to kind of go over quickly is your report card, which is probably that last sheet in that little packet you have. It has all the graphs and stuff on it. This just shows kind of where you guys have been when it comes to tip fee costs, your municipal tonnage, some of the other wastes that can come in, bulky, if there's roll-off services or something that come through, and then also the amount that comes through recycling. If you look down that second chart, I guess, in the middle, that's your 2025 projected number. It's a 5-year average that we use. So the 17,000 tons is, again, a 5-year average. And you look up at that 2021 number, you'll see that one in 2020 or a little bit higher. So sometimes those are a little bit inflated, but it looks like we're kind of estimating a little bit of a less tonnage for Egg Harbor Township than you saw last year. So again, looking at your municipal rates, you're looking at about 1.389 versus 1.358. So about a $30,000 increase when it comes to projected tonnage coming to. The other sheet that you have is the graph looking one. So this is the the host community fee. So it's just a history of that. That's going up by CPI, goes up by CPI every year. So we're looking at about an increase of $150,000 in host community benefit on that side, which is great for Egg Harbor Township.
Yeah.
The last two are really just recycling costs. There's two charts in there. One, we just try to show some competition within the county to try to get people to recycle more. Egg Harbor Township's the biggest. It's tough to get a lot of residents to do that. Where
We need to do a better job.
see some of the smaller ones.
Bottom third.
Yeah, I see where 20.48% is a recycling rate. So,
Yeah, a little bit lower than some of the other ones. But again, you're dealing with a lot more people than some of the other towns, so it's a little bit harder to kind of wrangle when it comes to the bigger municipalities. And then the other one is just the cost of recycling. So there is a cost associated with recycling when it comes to processing. Right now, it's about $66 a ton, which is still less than what it would be to put into a landfill. You're also not using up a natural resource that we have here in Egg Harbor Township. So it still makes more sense to recycle it, and it does get recycled, contrary to different reports and things that you hear. We actually have a pretty low residual when it comes to New Jersey. A lot of those reports are national reports. New Jersey is a little bit more unique when you look at a nationwide recycling program. We've all been on vacation and have trouble finding where to put your plastic bottle because they don't have recycling programs in other states. So when you're looking at a national profile, it really brings what New Jersey does down overall. So that's where some of the misconceptions kind of come through. But New Jersey does a relatively good job in recycling their materials. And again, Atlantic County does an overall good job when it comes to recycling and some of the residual that's there too. So, but
where's the bulk of our recycling going? What, now, China was not
markets.
taking it. Yeah, the markets for recycling.
So the Chinese national sword is what a lot of people have called it. I call it they were just kind of enforcing the rules. So we were sending all of our recycling over to China, and finally we don't do that great of a job recycling. So we were sending a lot of material over there that we thought was being recycled. It wasn't in the rules, but nobody kind of said, hey, you can't put that in there, you can't do this, we're not going to take it. Finally, they said, hey, we don't want that material. You got to follow these rules. It can be no more than 5% contamination in these loads, and they were inspecting them, and they were actually enforcing the rules. And then everybody started kind of throwing their arms up, going, recycling's broken, it doesn't work. And we were putting all of our eggs in a Chinese basket. And when they started turning us away and that market went away, we had to diversify where that recycling goes. So now it goes to a lot more places that are domestically available. It goes to Vietnam, it goes to Indonesia, it goes to so many different other markets. So it's been slower to come back. We've actually seen some revenue from it this year to offset that $66 a ton, but we have a stronger market now. So if Vietnam doesn't take all of our material, then we can still send it to Indonesia, we can send it to somewhere else. Domestically, there's been a lot of plants that have come online over the last 4 or 5 years since that happened too. So again, it's come back a little bit slower than it has in years past, where we see a rise and fall in commodity prices for recycling. But I think it's going to be a much stronger market because we're not going to be so dependent on one source for getting rid of our recycling.
That's encouraging, Matt. In a macro sense, the loop does get closed, though. They are on the back end producing things.
Yes, yes, they are. And the big report that says we're not is the Greenpeace report. And what they do is they take and they look at the amount of plastic that we're producing and the amount that's being recycled. And that's where they're getting this rate from. But what you don't think about is everything that is packaged in plastic typically doesn't get recycled. So there's so much plastic in packaging, from the grocery store and the meat that's wrapped in saran wrap to, the IKEA, who does a really great job with kind of packing their boxes of cardboard, is wrapped in plastic. So those types of products are part of that gross, domestic product that you're producing when it comes to plastic, but they're not in that recycling part because they just haven't been able to really recycle those kind of thin films, if you will. So that's where it kind of gets skewed a little bit. But they are using those, and people get confused with the recycling rules. And I would just say, if everybody just kept it simple, if everybody just recycled your glass bottles, your soda bottles, your milk jugs, your paper, your cans, your plastic, your junk mail, keep it simple. If you put that stuff in there, and everybody did that, we would be really, really in a good spot, and didn't worry about the yogurt container or the peanut butter. Should I rinse it out? Is it using too much water? Is the pizza box recyclable? The issue with pizza boxes is if there's cheese on the lid, you can't recycle it. If it's clean, it's clean cardboard, put in the recycling. So.
I have simple question for you. I don't know if you can answer this in particular, but, you know, our rate is, for recycling, for the township is 20%. Is that 20% of our tonnage, or an estimate that only 20% of our homes are actually participating? Based on tonnage?
Doesn't include your compost.
I was going to ask Gary that.
Right.
It's just what goes to our facility. So
This is what your facility.
The leaves you're collecting and go into your compost site, you have to add that in. So
Should have prepped before then. So yes, your vegetative waste, so the leaves that you collect go towards your recycling number. So some of the towns, they come to us and that goes towards their numbers, whereas other ones go somewhere else.
The towns that are
That it's not
highlighted.
included there. So thank you.
add that in, you'd be much higher.
Yeah, there you
Do me a
go.
favor, give me those numbers where,
Yeah, right.
where we
Well,
understand.
Add those in, right?
Add this
Yeah.
in, you look a lot.
Yeah.
Just a quick, I mean, the estimate of how many of our single-family homes are actually participating, is it maybe half or better than half? Hard to say.
Probably more than half. I mean,
60, 70%.
Yeah.
probably.
it's what's in the
60 to
bucket.
70%.
I've been on some of those routes. I've been on a route in Egg Harbor Township, and you know, it's
Seems like everybody on my block has a can out. I don't know what
right.
that
It's just
means.
see what's in the can, because sometimes you kind of go, "That's recycling." Nah, I don't know. I think their trash can was just full, and they decided to throw it into recycling because they didn't have room. So that's where we could just do a little bit of a better job. And then the last two things I want to talk about a little bit is just capacity, because the last time I was here, I did speak about landfill capacity. Again, the lowest tip fee in the state that goes when we're talking about municipal tonnage for the ratepayers, which are all of our taxpayers in the county. Our C&D rate is a little bit higher. It's not the highest in the state. It's not the lowest in the state, but it takes up a lot more space in the landfill. And it also is done to kind of promote a little bit more recycling. You can do some on-site recycling, $20 a load for clean block, $10 or $10 load for clean wood
Yeah, for load.
per load. So again, like there's incentives there for that. It also offsets some of these costs too, like recycling. There's a $2.7 million cost to us for recycling. In addition, this is just the municipality. So it supports a lot of systems, but I wanted to talk a little about capacity, because the last time I was here, I talked about this three-prong approach we were looking at. And there is an update on looking at space at our site. We're bound by the parkway, the wetlands on either side, and the sheet that you guys had gotten this before when you came here, but there's a couple of them in there, so I apologize if there wasn't enough for everybody. But there's a timeline here. And this is a timeline of about half a dozen times where we looked at optimizing our site, where we changed an angle of the landfill, we've added an MSC wall, where we've added capacity. Our capacity would have run out a decade ago if we didn't do things like this. If in 1997, we didn't do a increase of 20 feet to our elevation. If we didn't change the size of grading in 2022, this is what we're going to kind of continue to do. So we hired a consultant last year to look at what else can we do at this site. Very tight spot. We got those results back. We did some stability analysis and looked at a couple different options, and they can provide us at least 8 years of additional capacity on top of the 5 that we have. So looking at about 13 years of capacity. We have to go through a permit process. It'll be a very public one. But going back to, again, where our rate is, the lowest in the state, and it's because we've been able to dispose of at our site. So that'll be something that we're working on this year, is getting those details together. Stability analysis has been done. Everything kind of seems to check out. So we'll kind of be moving that process forward and looking for another 8 years on top of the 5 that we have, which is July of 2029 right now is where our capacity is permitted. Monmouth County just did this. They have less than 10 years of capacity. Burlington County's permitted capacity was due to expire August of 2025, next August. They just got an approval for their, again, site to go a little bit bigger somewhere else. This is what the county does as far as managing their solid waste for the taxpayers and ratepayers of the county. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that you'll hear more of that. But again, that helps, again, 13 years of continuing to dispose of here in Egg Harbor Township. And then the last thing I just wanted to kind of touch on that we're going to probably follow up with a meeting with Tom and anybody else that wants to attend is the collection contracts. We're trying to kind of look at those. So in EHT, specifically in EHT, we started that collection contract in 1999. you guys had, I think, 9,600 homes in 1999. I think you're over 14,000 right now, with another 1,000 coming online. So the CPI increases have really kind of struggled to kind of manage that. So we're just trying to look at some of these contracts where CPI hasn't caught up with what's been going on, and there's some unique situations like, you know, development over the last 25 years of a contract. So we will be kind of looking at those and reaching out a little bit further. So
I don't know if you concluded, but I for one, and I think a lot of my colleagues would agree, that both under your leadership and under Rick Doty's leadership, and I've been following this for 25 years, you have done an exceptional job. One of the leaders, one of the leading counties across the state. And I go back to the arguments about trash incineration, which I'm not going to get into, which I spoke a number of times, but against it, you know, but you guys have done a fantastic job with both the recycling efforts and just reinventing that landfill over and over again. And I just want to pay a compliment. And for our citizens, the host benefits, the host benefit is north of $3 million. And that's a big help to us.
yeah, thank
so
you.
The critics are going to, I don't know how they're going to make up this.
Right. And it's not just
That's a
Edgewater
big-
Township.
that's a big
There's
bonus.
funding that goes to every municipality from our facility. So there's a thing called the Recycling Enhancement Act grant. $3 a ton of every ton of waste that comes to our facility goes back to each municipality in a grant for the recycling programs. NARTP, ACEA funding that we provide to the county for economic development. There's all these things that we do. Recycling, free, household hazardous waste. Every single municipality is represented 6 times a year when we do those disposals. You know, it's moving upwards to almost $500,000 in costs for that program. So these are the things that we do. So I appreciate that, and we're continuing to push forward. One other thing that I just wanted to mention that's going to help us in 2026 is our renewable natural gas project that we broke ground on last October. It's under construction now, due to come online August of 2025. And that'll bring revenue to the organization. So right now we're looking at close to $2 million in revenue with $500,000 in reduced expenses, which will help us, again, keep tip fees. And that's been ingrained in my head from my predecessor. And I know Rick was you know, that was the main priority, was the ratepayers, taxpayers, to make sure that they're getting the best deal possible. So that's what we're constantly looking out for. So,
Can I ask you to address something that is
yep.
one thing we all hear? I know that. Can you let us know what improvements you've done regarding odors and things like that?
Yes, I can't go anywhere without
Nope.
talking about
I
odors. So,
figured people
and I almost
listen
brought
to
that up, but I was
this.
like, I already said one more thing. So, so landfill odors, certainly this time last year, we were in a really tough spot. We were very vocal about it. We were very transparent. We were doing meetings. We were commissioners' meetings. By April, we kind of had everything under control, and I kind of went through what happened then. It wasn't just us. It was every landfill. The 12 landfills in New Jersey were dealing with the same issue. It just, again, depends on where you're at, who was covering the news. Once we got to April, really things seemed to die down. We'll never get to zero. You know, you can drive down the Parkway and mile marker 38 and probably still experience a landfill if the wind's in the right direction. You're several hundred feet from the landfill. Westcott Road, coming down, you know, South Mill Road, very close to our site. Again, not all the time, but certain times you will experience a little bit more there. So back in the beginning of 2024, end of 2023, we put a lot of infrastructure in to get us kind of ahead of the game. Rolling into this winter, our goal was to put even more infrastructure in. So we were trying to get the last year's stuff in by October, November. It should have been in by probably September, October. And then it got delayed because that's what happens with contracts, they get delayed. So this year we started in August and started putting infrastructure in and finished up in October. 32 wells, 12,000 linear feet of header pipe with another 12,000 feet of air lines that went in. And now that stuff is online. We're starting to tweak it and kind of, you know, really balance that system. And that will have us prepared for the rain that's starting to come now, the colder climates, and future gas that's being produced. And then we also have a 16-acre cap that we just awarded last Thursday with help from $7 million from the county, gave us ARPA funds. The municipality, or the MUAs did not get any ARPA funds, so municipalities and counties did. Utility authorities did not. So they provided us, thankfully, $7 million to do this project 5 years in advance. That'll also help stabilize the rate too, because we don't have to raise that funding in a rate increase. And that'll be a complement to all the infrastructure that we've put in. So we're seeing already the benefits of that. During the election, it was certainly raised as a significant issue. I was criticized for saying it was being politicized. What I was looking at was December of 2023, we had 129 NJDEP odor complaints. None verified, 2 in January were verified, but none verified, 129 odor complaints in December of 2023. In September, when we were digging, putting wells in, we were in the newspaper, there's a lawsuit, there's all these things, we had 15. So again, I was looking at data going, I'm not seeing it, but I know that that's kind of how these things go. So we're continuing to manage that. We're seeing a significant reduction in those odor complaints, but it'll never be zero.
Just briefly, when you say infrastructure for the citizens that are watching or will watch this video, the infrastructure, that's the piping to capture the gas?
Yes.
And to reroute it or?
Yeah, so we have close to $20 million in infrastructure at our site that just manages landfill gas. So it starts with a full blower system that is pulling vacuum on 102 acres of a landfill. And that's piping and network that goes out. Think of giant straws and hoses that go out to this landfill stuff. And it ranges from an 18-inch pipe to a 2 or 4 inch pipe. And then you have vertical wells that go into the trash that we put in each year. We do several vertical wells. We just finished 32, 33 wells. And that is where it captures the gas. That pulls the vacuum on there. We have over 125 of these wells across this landfill, and there's a design on how you actually place those. And then that gas gets pulled in, goes through a hydrogen sulfide cleanup system, and then goes into, right now, our enclosed flare, which converts it from methane. It's mostly methane. So the gas that comes out of landfill is about 50% methane, about 35% CO2, and then we try to keep it under 2% oxygen, and then there's a small other percentage of the stuff that smells, and that's the hydrogen sulfide. The gas that you smell is not the stuff that goes through our system because we have a hydrogen sulfide cleanup system. It's the stuff that doesn't get caught. Landfill gas collection, the EPA, the DEP will not allow you to show 100% efficiency because it's impossible to collect every ounce of gas. The most they can show is around 80% to 85%. So that 15 to 20% is what you can smell at certain times. And we're trending stuff where things like barometric pressure and temperature are causing certain spikes because as you put vacuum on a hill and the atmosphere kind of loosens up a little bit, now it starts to pull that gas out a little bit. So these are the things that we kind of have to manage as we're collecting this gas. But it's a pretty significant operation to have over there. So.
That's good.
All right.
Could you introduce who you brought?
Yeah, so I have my fearless team here. I have Gary Conover, our Vice President of Solid Waste. Linda Bazemore is our Vice President of Administration and CFO in the back. And then Greg Sayer is our Director of Solid Waste. So we've been on the roadshow tour now. This is our 10th meeting in about a week and a half to all the municipalities going through budgets. And we have another 15 more to go for the next couple of weeks. So we're on the ACA roadshow, and I bring my crew with me just in case we have questions like recycling and other stuff that kind of comes up. So,
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. And have a very nice Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Matt.
You too, Matt.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, fellas.
Good. Any other questions?
Got a question, Rick? Oh, no, you don't.
No?
Oh, you
Okay.
did.
All right.
No.
All
No,
right.
I think we're good.
Great. Thank you all very
Happy
much.
Thanksgiving,
All right. Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving. Have a nice night.
Take care.
Rick, you're up next. This is the EHT Parks Open House Meeting.
Yes, it is. It's one of two. Good evening, everyone. Rick Audette, Parks and Recreation Director. Thank you, Mayor Fromer and members of Township Committee for allowing me to be a part of your meeting and speak tonight. So this is the EHT Parks Open House Meeting. We had another meeting previous to this held publicly at the community center. And this is kind of our second one, and we thought it might be a good idea to kind of embed it within a township committee meeting, and so that the public could hear about it as much as possible. And I'm going to go through my presentation pretty quickly tonight because what would be even more important is for anyone here from the public who'd like to speak on it as well. and share their ideas for.
The young gentleman on the end was interested.
We have some guys ready to go back there, that's right. But we're going to welcome input from the public tonight, and I just want to share that. We'll also be doing a survey, distributing it online, and hard copies in a couple of our community buildings, just to further solicit public input on, the future and development of Egg Harbor Township parks. So the purpose for the meeting is, as I just alluded to, we already get a decent amount of public input as we develop our 6-year capital improvement plan and as we develop our goals and objectives for improving parks. But the reason for this series of meetings is to kind of, one, broaden our reach to the public and solicit more input and feedback and give that opportunity to everyone. In addition to, what kind of the Recreation Commission and I do monthly. And, we hear from the sponsored youth sports organizations quite a bit. And we're just kind of broadening, the reach of our outreach. And I did, okay, and I mentioned the survey. The other purpose for the meeting tonight is as we get into the month of December and January, we'll be applying for some grants through Green Acres and New Jersey DCA Local Rec Improvement Grant. And doing these public outreach sessions is an important part of the grant process. So this will allow us to hopefully be more successful in our grant applications and again, increase our feedback from the public. Just stating very briefly and, generally, what are our goals for EHT parks? We want to create as safe a parks as possible. We want to create as many opportunities to recreate within our parks. And we want to continually improve our parks, whether it's through a capital approach, with our capital budget, or just, day-to-day and week-to-week maintenance and improvement through either the Public Works Department or myself doing smaller park improvement projects. But those are the goals, and that's what we're trying to do for the public and the way we're trying to serve the public, through our parks, which are obviously a very important part of our community. Does my sound okay?
Yeah, just
Okay.
a little bit of.
Okay. Again, I'm going to go through a lot of these pages quickly. I'm not going to read everything to you. And really, this handout is more for the public to kind of further educate on what we do and what we have and what we've done recently. The committee will be largely familiar with what we have here. But the next page is just a list of our parks, just to let the public know exactly what parks are here in town. Just listed the park hours that are by ordinance that our parks are open. Next page, very quickly, sources of funding. Both the Parks and Recreation Department and Public Works municipal budget supports a lot of improvement and works and maintenance in our parks. And then, as I mentioned, the capital improvement projects budget is more, large scale, more kind of permanent in nature projects that we develop a 6-year plan. I'll mention that pretty quickly in a moment. There, in the past, we've gotten funding through the capital improvement project budget, and we also have used open space funds for park improvements in recent years.
Dropping the mic just a little bit.
Okay.
See?
Maybe I'll stand back a bit
What do
too.
you think?
Yeah, it was fine when Matt was talking. I don't
Yep.
know.
I'll stand back a bit and just.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely be fine.
So I mentioned the open space funds, which is a tax funded through taxes. The final source of funding, which I mentioned, are grants. We've done work in our parks with community development block grants, Green Acres, and again, the local rec improvement grant. Very quickly, the decision-making process, I want to inform the public, how do we come to the decisions on what projects we do and how do we develop priorities? Both myself and the Public Works Department were out in the parks almost daily. For myself, certainly daily for the Public Works Department. And we just have kind of a continual assessment of, what's in our parks, what needs to be fixed. Just kind of a professional knowledge of what parks should have, what the conditions should be. And a lot of what we do, comes from our two departments, and just, we certainly have a lot of input in the process. To a great extent, the Recreation Commission develops the capital improvement project budget. A couple bullet points down, a lot of that comes from the sponsored youth sports organizations. We meet twice a year. Members of committee come as well. And the sponsored youth sports organizations kind of give us their needs and tell us, what we need to add to the park, what we need to fix in the park, what's going to help their organizations, which will be, a broader benefit to the public. Everything we do obviously goes to the administrator for his review and approval. And then as the administrator develops the capital improvement project budget for the township, eventually comes to township committee, who decides on the funding and has final authority in that regard. Again, we use a lot of input from the public. And I just mentioned Green Acres and Pinelands Commission regulations. Just in terms of the fact that we have to, certain regulations to follow, certain things we can or can't do, or a process on how we do it, are, under their auspices, and it's just kind of a part of the process on what projects we decide to do and how we do them. Committee saw this list recently, but again, I want to kind of summarize it for the public. I'm not going to go through each project, but in 2023 and 2024, we've had a lot of park improvement projects funded and approved through, again, committee and the administrator. We have a lot still in progress in 2024, and there's a lot, you heard about the dugouts project earlier tonight. That should be being completed over the winter, as should a number of other projects. So we really want to take a moment as well to thank Township Committee and the administrator. You guys have been very supportive on our goal to improve our parks. And, we're really, and the public has benefited greatly from that, and we just really appreciate your understanding and your support as we wish to.
Rick, just to interrupt you for one moment, I apologize. I mean, this list, just for the sake of the citizens, there's over 20 projects in the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to make that point.
Yeah, we've been very busy. We've had a lot of projects on our capital list, and again, with approval from committee, and a lot in progress still. And, we really hope to wrap up quite a few of these over the winter time, the lacrosse scoreboards and the lacrosse rebounding wall and final improvements to the community center. And hockey court resurfacing was scheduled for next April for various reasons to their benefit at street hockey. Just a quick glance at what the Recreation Commission is currently proposing for 2025, and we're going to add, the input from the public in consideration and before we turn it in to the administrator. But in 2025, we're hoping to renovate the football game field at Veterans Park, continue with funding for Canale Park soccer fields reconstruction, batting cage at Childs Kirk Park, lighting at Veterans Park in the rear BMX baseball parking lot. Continue to fund the tennis court reconstruction. We can push that project out a year or two just as we secure the remainder of the funding. We had a lot of funding in 2024. And just a few other various improvements, and including the nature reserve. We'd like to really support the nature reserve and make them a part of our capital plan so that the nature reserve is as really as great as it can be for the public. That kind of wraps up my commentary, and the packet is a little bit of show and tell. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, as they say. I won't go through each project, but again, just starting with Betterment Park, kind of a somewhat forgotten park and not in the best of condition and repair a number of years ago. And it just shows what capital funding can do. It's turned that park into a place that wasn't even much on my radar the first few years I was here in the township. And it's become one of our most popular parks.
It's nationally popular. I'm going to tell you, I had people this summer come visit.
Yeah.
Some from California, and they said, "Where's that pickleball court? I know there's a real good one on UH2."
Pickleball is the reason it is so popular. So
it is.
It just shows what we can do. Very nice improvement to Oakland Tremont basketball court this year. Brand new facility.
That's good. And it gets the parking the parking now is much safer. The drive there, your
Yes.
sight line
It's
is,
getting used more than ever.
oh, it's getting used
Yes,
a lot.
that-
The parking now is.
That came out really nice, and the parking lot was a tremendous
Yep.
addition to the park, and again, the funding coming from administrating you guys really made that happen. Just a lot of improvements at Veterans Park over the years, the community center in the past year or two.
Field 6 lighting will make a lot of people happy.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Field 6 lighting, that is really just full speed ahead. Hopefully over the course of January and February, that construction will occur and be wrapped up. That's, everything's in line and everything's in place to really get that complete. Towards the back of the packet, I wanted the public to be aware, really nice improvement with the shared use of athletic fields on the high school property, but between the school district and the township, developing 5 fantastic athletic fields, 2 of which through township funding received field lighting, and just another great improvement for the township. So I mentioned the grants that we're going to try to apply for and target, and at this time I'd like to just turn it over from anyone from the public to come on down and share any thoughts they may have on the capital budget and how we can best improve township parks and meet the needs of our residents. Would anyone like to come through? Great. This is he's one of our coaches and rec department employee. I'll let him introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for this time. And Rick, thank you for this time as well. My name is Aaron Hollabaugh. I grew up and live in the township. I actually just recently bought a house. I graduated from EHT in 2009, went through all the schools. Then I went to Monmouth University and graduated in 2013 with my bachelor's in science in physical education. And I am super thankful now to be a phys ed teacher at Davenport Primary. So my proposal is for a public or community track that the community can use. Before I dive into my many reasons why, the main reason why is my joke is that our track at the high school is locked up like Fort Knox. We can't use it ever, and there are a lot of local tracks in the area that I have run on, but I'll get into that going further. The first reason why I believe this is important to our community is for the community. We have amazing programs that are organized through RIC and other things through the rec department. And being able to use that track for some of our programs will hopefully foster new learning and variation through teaching for our kids in the township. A huge one that hits home for me is the EHT Run Club. I have been part of this program through the rec department for 10 years now. In the fall and the spring, we coach kids 4th through 8th grade, and the hope is to be a little bit of a farm system, for lack of a better term, for these kids to run at the middle and high school level, and eventually, hopefully, the college level and beyond. We meet in the fall and the spring. It's about an 8-week program, and we are fortunate to host the program at the at the Nature Reserve, which is awesome. The development there has been great. I run there frequently in my own, and the kids love it. We have a nice 1.5 mile loop. Parents hang out, and it's awesome. The job that I know Friedman was a part of that, and other people improving that park. But we need some variation in that as well. Pre-COVID, we were able to sometimes work out with the school district that we could use the track once per session, so we could go and teach the kids like, hey, not only are we running on trails for maybe cross country, but track is an important part of running too. We went over relays, all the different distances that we use for the track for, hurdles and all that stuff to try to foster some learning and a spark, because as we know, for a lot of people, running might not be your favorite go-to activity. So our job and my job is to try to get our program to build up at that younger age to the middle and high school level. And like I have some cohorts with me to run in college. Ever since we used to use the track pre-COVID, it's now been increasingly difficult for us to get this day. We have to let them know months in advance, and even then, I don't think I've been able to get a day since pre-COVID because they just don't get back to us or what the deal is. But I have had kids say, why aren't we going to the track? Because they really do like that day there to run on the track and get away from the nature reserve every once in a while. Having this community track will also hopefully foster people in the township to get up and give them somewhere safe to go to walk. Again, I'm thankful for the nature reserve and places like Bargaintown. They do have a walking loop around, and now Shires, I know they paved around there as well, which is awesome. But just having the track and somewhere open and safe will hopefully allow more people to show up and want to get out the door and walk as well. As I mentioned before, I have been running since I was in high school. Actually started in middle school, and I still run to this day. I run and train every day. This past Sunday, I ran the Philadelphia Marathon. So it's very important to me to hopefully get as many people as I can to continue their running career, not only as a kid, but going forward and post-collegiately and everything. As I mentioned before, I've run on Apsagami's track and never had an issue, Ocean City's track, Oak Crest track, Mainland track, and I've even gone to Stockton and never had an issue. But for some reason, I live in EHT and grew up in EHT, and I bought a house in EHT, and I can't even run on my own track. So that, to me, is a little sad and disappointing. On the other hand, too, I know Atlantic Christian has a track, but it's blacktop. It's not a real track surface, so it's not really giving you what we're looking for from a track. It's just like running on the side of the road. There's also another part, too, that is important to me is I know at the Miller School they do the Miller Mile. So maybe in conjunction with that, they could do the Miller Mile there. So that program at 4th and 5th grade, they have the top runners, boy and girl in 4th and 5th grade, towards the end of the year, compete in a mile to see who is the fastest at the school. So that I thought maybe that would be a cool conjunction, that instead of just doing it on their field of the school, they could do it out on the track. Something else that we could use it for within the community and our schools. And lastly, other than the community, the kids that are currently in the district is, again, the alumni. A lot of times alumni come home for summer break, winter break, or spring break, and we need somewhere to train. Our coaches will say, hey, I need you to do 8x400 at a certain pace, which to you sounds like a math equation, but it's we need to do 400s on the track at a certain pace, and there's nowhere to do that at. We can't do that officially on the streets. However, if you have a football athlete come home, they can just go to a field and run routes or catch a football, and it's hard for our athletes to train not having the proper location to train on. Some of my cohorts here, they've run for Ryder. We have UMass Lowell. I know we have plenty of athletes that have run for Monmouth, like myself, Rutgers, and Navy. We have a guy right now that's running for Navy, but when they come home, they need somewhere to train, which is extremely important to us, and that's hard to do. So that's also important to our alumni to have somewhere to come home to train. And honestly, lastly, I'm going to be a little selfish. It's important to me. It's something that I heard was in the works a couple years ago. I heard it was rumor. Obviously, it wasn't true. But I have honestly run probably about 25,000 plus miles on the streets of this township. And I've worked out. And like I stated, I ran Philadelphia Marathon on Sunday. I've run Boston Marathon twice. And running is a very important part of me. And I've been thankful to work with the rec department on the run club. I also volunteer coach at the high school when I can get there. So my whole goal with running is to foster it from a young age and try to get everybody to be involved in running, and not only kids, but the community as well. So
What's your marathon time?
my fastest so far is 2:54:01. I ran 2:57 on Sunday. So not quite what I wanted, but it was still under 3 hours, so I was happy. Thank you. Thank you.
A question for you.
Yes.
if I may.
Yes.
Um,
Sorry, I know that was a lot of information fast.
I'm trying to ask you questions.
Yeah.
So I understand that dedicated runners,
Right.
if we made this commitment and investment
Right.
for dedicated runners, how would you incorporate that to the average township resident? You know, I understand the health benefits and
Right.
things like that. Rick. How will we incorporate the average citizen to that? Where any average resident that wants to get, not necessarily become a dedicated marathon runner, but
Right. I mean, it could just be like an open track. Anybody can use it at any time, as well as you could, have the open hours and the open time, as well as we could start programs through the rec department if possible. Yeah. Not to steal your thunder or steal any ideas, but that's one of the things that I did mention in this letter, is that hopefully that will foster ideas for new programs that we can add to our rec department. Not just kid-led programs, but also adult-led programs like, walking off the pounds or what, things that we've had that hopefully, again, just not the nature reserve or other places, but could spark some interest to use that track to stuff like that. I hope that answered your question.
thank you.
Sorry, Rick. Okay.
No, we had talked about the track originally when we talked about the turf field, and I know the cost
Right.
came in so high.
Right.
that
Yeah.
It just was
There was
outside of our
the space
budget.
was not there per the engineers.
Yeah.
Right.
That was part of an initial concept
Yeah.
for the development of the facility.
Right.
I think the first thing we need to do is talk with the schools.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean,
It defense is luck, is that what it is?
I know I made the joke, but to be honest with you, it's always locked, and it's crazy. I've never hopped the fence. I'll be honest, I never have. But there is oftentimes a cop that's parked down that trail because they don't want people going down there. And like I've said, I've run on mainland, never had an issue. Ocean City, Absegami, Stockton. Why am I not having an issue with these other places, but I'm having an issue in a township that I pay taxes in and work in?
Well,
how does that?
Aside from that, Rick, do you have space?
To be honest, fitting a track into an existing park would be like a regulation track, especially as Aaron was alluding to. Might be a bit of a challenge. Perhaps at Shires Park is outside of the multi-purpose field, but inside of the existing walking path.
But is there parking if it takes off
Yeah.
for health reasons for citizens?
It'd be a bit of a challenge. It's an amenity and a facility that would be of great benefit to the township. I cannot agree with Coach Moore on that, but it might be a bit of a challenge in some of our existing parks. We do have space at MK Betterment to expand. I think not just the high school property and their kind of openness to the public. Maybe the school district could consider something like it on the grounds of Miller or Fernwood as well. So this could be something that could be situated at a middle school or a school like Miller, perhaps. But it's definitely an important. Running is very important to the health and of the community. I agree with everything Aaron said. There would be a challenge to maybe situate it in an existing park, but we definitely want to consider it, and we definitely support that type of facility.
Could you build that ring in Veterans Park around perimeter of that?
That's one of the like Field 5, which is kind of if I say here, Field 5. It's a regulation-sized football field, and that's exactly what high schools have. They have tracks around regulation-sized football fields. To the south end, there might be a little bit of a space issue where it kind of slopes off towards the retention area. But, it's something we just have to really take a closer look at for spacing and the site characteristics.
And excuse me, Rick, I was on the school board for many years. This is not first to this topic.
Yeah.
So did we stop asking the school for use? Because like I said, everybody say about being a resident paying taxes and have no access at all to the schools. They have several other locations that could be built on those locations, but I haven't heard anybody go and mention anything what the school is doing. Because you've been saying this for years, unlock the gate.
And if you did it at Fernwood or Miller or somewhere along those lines.
Which we had the same issues.
Well, it may not be fenced in, because it wouldn't be like the same stadium and the security of the stadium, and it's such an expensive facility as that is. And then there could be perhaps like night and weekend use and summertime use
They
for
discussed
the
that.
public.
They discussed that
Yeah.
away from the school time.
So we should explore and think of all options.
What about Miller? There was a football field there.
Yeah.
Is there space to make a track around that, what used to be the football field?
It's space there, but the only problem we ran into with that situation is allowing the public to be on property during school
It
time.
would have to be obviously during non-school
Right,
hours.
yeah, so I
hours.
think you
Okay.
pursue that and work out that
That's
arrangement.
definitely understood.
So
Yeah.
you're talking about a track with the surfaces other than asphalt, correct?
Right. Yeah, because a lot of times I go up to
real
people
track.
and say, we need a public track in our community. And they say, well, go to Atlantic Christian because they're open. I'm like, it's a track,
No.
but it's not a track. It's asphalt. It's just like me running on the side of the street. That's not
No, I
good
get
for
it.
mine. yeah, totally. It's
Not that I'm a marathoner, but the Army used to see fit that I had to do 2 miles annually at a certain time. And I remember climbing the fence at our high school and getting in trouble, long before I was on Township. I won't mention the principal's name. So I agree 110% with you. That track should be used
Yeah.
under conditions. And we probably have a need for a track.
Right.
Because you want your times and everything else.
Right.
I mean, the Army, I never could understand it. I mean, they wanted, depending on your age, a time and 2 miles, okay? And it was painful for some of us to get old and don't like to.
Hey, when the kids try out for the lifeguards, they have to
Yeah,
qualify
I
with
mean,
times,
so-
things like that.
I was a
So-
lifeguard for 10 years. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
I can tell you firsthand.
It's a good point.
Thankfully, I had the running background. But
Yeah.
If there's some field that we're taking care of, that we could squeeze in it. It doesn't, I don't think it has to be, 8 lanes or whatever. You don't need it. You just need a track that's a certain size.
4 lanes would be phenomenal.
That's right.
Well, I think the first
I mean,
step would
normally
be
the high school is
getting
what,
ahold
8
of the
lanes?
school.
Yeah.
And
I
talking
mean,
to
we're
the
not going to
school
host
and the
big
high
events there. I mean, that'd be great if we did. That would be. But
Yeah.
I mean, 4 lanes,
Just
just
want people to get out of it.
Yeah.
right. 4 lanes would be
And
great.
to go a certain distance.
What are the hours?
Yeah, a normal 400 meter
400 or
track.
440 or whatever you
Yeah.
call it, yeah.
Rick, what are the hours that the track, or the running program through this rec department? Are they summer and evening, or what are the hours
It's
for
spring
that?
and fall, and at 4 p.m.
I'm sorry, the EHC Run Club that I
Yes.
run, Mondays and Wednesdays, 4:30 to 5:30.
4:30.
in
All
the
right, so
fall
it's
and
after
spring.
school hours?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a fantastic program.
It's locked.
Okay,
Yeah.
it is locked,
You
it's
can't-
locked.
Yeah, plus it's with all the like they could be like, yeah, but we have soccer here, and I honestly haven't tried because in the last 2 years now because it's like jumping through hoops.
So the
It's
ideal
impossible.
surface is not cinders anymore, it's a different
It's the
composite.
new, yeah,
rubberized
yeah.
cushion
I'm sorry, I
surface.
don't have a technical term for it, but
No,
yeah,
no,
it's
no.
that newer, right?
I remember the cinder tracks, but I don't know.
Yeah.
what they- Okay. All right.
Just to wrap it up, Rick, I have to say that you have, under your purview, we have a dozen different properties, different parks. And you have, about, in ball fields, you have maybe 4 dozen ball fields between everything, all the different sports. I mean, it's a big undertaking.
I'd have to count, but it's up there.
It
Yeah.
is a big
2 or
undertaking,
3 dozen, yeah.
you know?
It is.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Rick, just one thing I was gonna
Thank you very
comment,
much.
and you could answer this. In our
Thank you.
county, there is nobody that has what we have.
Yes.
Probably in all of South Jersey. I mean, we have a lot to be proud of as
Yes.
far as what is continued to evolve here.
We absolutely do.
And,
Yep.
Did you get one? Here. I'll get it.
Okay,
Again, thank you to
We have
Aaron
somebody else.
Hallby. Yeah, I want to allow anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on this topic, come on up.
Thank you for your time, everyone. Have a
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You
Yes,
too.
thank you. Hello?
Hello, my name is Eric DeTizio. I've been a township resident since 1996. I wasn't planning to, I just came to observe tonight. But now that I've received this information, as far as MK Betterment Park goes and the pickleball courts, I love playing there. It's excellent. And I noticed that some of the parks are open until 11 p.m. And I know in the winter, maybe not so much, but in the spring, summer, and fall, if we could have the ordinance changed so that the park could be open till 11, I think that would be appreciated by many of the residents. There's some like casino workers or odd shift workers that do play, and there's often a crowd there until 10, 10:30 when the
Oh,
lights
there
go
is,
all the way
yes. I'll
off.
come home that way.
And that
If I'm
extra
out
hour
and
would
I
be
just
great.
to see it. Son of a gun, if it's a decent night, they are out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's popular.
That's all.
And I have to give Rick credit for that, because once we got started on the design and found that location, he went to multiple pickleball courts and had a true design in mind of what would work. So I have to give him a lot of
and we
credit on
had
the
to
design
move
of that
it
park.
because where we started out didn't work in the community out there. Nobody at the South Jersey Gas cares about the pickleball.
Right.
I don't hear anybody complain at all.
And ours is definitely the best around, and
Oh, no doubt.
I think there might even be room for 8 more, but that'll be on another meeting.
It's only so much money and so much time. Okay,
Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you very much. There actually is room for 8 more, and we'll consider the times of the park and consider that in the near future. So,
I do have one question about the parks, about MK Betterment.
yeah, sure.
Are they playing basketball? Because I know the courts are not lit up directly. Are there kids out there playing till the lights go out?
That does occur. There's enough kind of
I'd just like to make
peripheral.
sure the kids out there playing are safe, that they have enough lighting that,
There is a decent amount of lighting. We did not actively light the basketball court as part of our
yeah.
initial improvement plan, which was actually, we just completed phase 2 at MK Betterment. That is something we can consider for the future. They do play after dusk and kind of use the peripheral light. I know our police department does regular, frequent, patrols through the area. But that is occurring, yes.
Mayor, they're basically safe, it's just dark. The basketball court.
Yeah, the court itself is safe, but it's dark, and so if they're
It's
out there
dark.
playing, I'd like
Yeah,
them to at
on the
least to be
basketball
playing where
court.
it's,
They have no lights at all, really.
Well, that's something we
you're gonna
can,
have to come on down and give your name.
I was just gonna add on the topic. I do go to that basketball court a lot, and I usually go there around 11 p.m., 12 p.m. And I will say the lights aren't the best lights, but they do provide enough light for me to see, and it feels fairly safe there. And I have been there with police officers driving by the area or sitting in the parking lot, so it does feel safe.
Okay.
But that is a place I've gone. I go all
Okay.
the time.
First-hand experience, that's what we want to
And I remember you when you were running around the whole site.
Yeah.
Down the high school drive everywhere.
Yeah, I still run every day.
Yeah, okay. You were young kid.
Well, again, I appreciate everyone's time tonight. It looks like everyone who's spoken. And for the public, again, that survey will come out, which will give more people input on our capital planning process.
Is that going to come out on the website, the Facebook page?
All the above.
All the above?
All the
Okay.
above.
Beginning
Yep.
of the year sometime?
Very early December.
Okay.
Yep, in a week or
Okay.
so. So again, thank you, and I want to echo. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving,
Same to you.
and thank you again for your time.
Same to you.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Rick.
Yep.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, we're going to move on to, well, actually, we have no public hearings for ordinances tonight. We have no ordinance introductions. We have a resolution and consent calendar.
Excuse me, Mayor. For that public comment that we just had, we need a motion to close that
So moved.
portion, please.
Okay,
Second.
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
So now we're going down to resolutions. We have resolution 487 through and including 503. Does anybody have any questions? If not, can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Cafaro?
Yes.
Ellis? Hodson?
Yes.
And Fromer.
Yes. Resolution for the bill list, authorizing payment of all bills. Can I have a motion for 504? Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Cafaro?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Hodson?
Yes.
And Fromer.
Yes. Approvals. Can I have a motion to approve the November 13th Township Committee meeting minutes?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the November 13th closed executive session minutes. Thank you. Can I
Second.
roll call on this one.
Cafaro?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Hodson?
Yes.
And Fromer.
Yes. Motion to approve the December 20th special Township Committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Cafaro?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Hodson?
Yes.
And Fromer.
I have to abstain on that one. Motion to approve the November 20th, 2024 closed executive session meeting minutes, special meeting minutes.
Benjamin.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Cafaro?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Hodson?
Yep.
And Fromer.
Abstain. Can I have a motion to approve the departmental reports for the month of October?
So moved.
Make a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now I'd like to open up the meeting to anyone in the public that would like to address the governing body. Want to come back up?
Make a motion to close.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Township committee reports. Mr. Ellis.
Just want to say have a safe and healthy Thanksgiving. Those traveling, those staying here, please be safe and enjoy your family first.
Mr. Hodson.
Just to reiterate on the Roxas, they had a significant fire on Monday at 11:20 at their home. And it was a great effort by our fire departments from Skelville, Bargaintown, and they had Summers Point help them come out too. But that's what community does. That neighborhood was unbelievable. And it could have been a lot worse than it turned out to be. And my hats are off to the leadership at Skelville and Bargaintown for doing the job for our community.
They did an outstanding job.
It was,
They really
it
did.
was quite impressive.
Good job, fire.
Mr. Cafaro.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd just like to say that the annual fundraiser for the Nature Reserve, the Turkey Trot, will be this Saturday, November 30th, Saturday after Thanksgiving. Still time to register, or you can register the day of. It's starting the registration at about 7 a.m. and the event will start at 9 a.m. It's a 5K run or a 1K run, and all the proceeds go back into the Nature Reserve. It's a great fundraiser. It's a lot of fun. It's a nice track, and it's actually beautiful out there this time of year. Lastly, I'd like to wish everyone a blessed and happy Thanksgiving. You'll be with your loved ones and the people that mean most to you. Please have a joyous day and have a safe day.
Okay, thank you. And really, that's all I'd like to say too, is happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And, you know, it's a day to say what you're thankful for. And I have to say that people in this township, as we heard from citizens tonight, we have great people in this town, and I'm thankful for everybody that steps up and gets involved. We appreciate everything that you do. And for Thanksgiving, that's one of the many things that I'm thankful for. So wishing you all a very safe travel if you're traveling. And our meeting in December, we only have one meeting in December, which will be the 13th?
The 11th.
The 11th.
December 11th.
December 11th. So just mark your calendars because that will be a change from this month. And Tom, do you have anything?
Just happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
There you go. Very good. But do we have a need for a closed session tonight?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Resolution 505, authorizing the Township Committee to convene into closed executive session to discuss matters which may involve personnel and/or legal matters. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstance presently exists, and whereas the governing body wishes to discuss matters involving personnel and/or legal matters as follows. Personnel, police captain's position, anticipated disclosure 6 months. A Hearts Therapeutic Riding Center Green Acres application, anticipated disclosure 1 year. Atlantic Shores update, anticipated disclosure 1 year. And Lotus/Red Oak Dispensary update, anticipated disclosure 6 months. Whereas minutes will be kept, and once the confidentiality of the matter no longer requires that confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by Township Committee of the Township of Egg Harbor, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, that the public be excluded from this meeting.